Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Joy News. Today I am Emefa Akosiadeti. We're live from our studios here in Kokomlemle, Accra, and also live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 105 and across the world on myjoyonline.com. Coming up this afternoon, as government appointees who missed the March 31st asset declaration deadline race against President Muhammad's 48 hours deadline, Attorney General Dominic Ayine says in addition to dismissals, criminal prosecutions will also be pursued for appointees found culpable of breaching the new code of conduct.
Sanctions for violation. The code sets out consequences for breach, public apology, from public apology to reprimand, to suspension, to resignation, or ultimately termination.
Also this afternoon, Charles Bisu granted 200,000 Ghana cedis bail and ordered to report to OSP once every month. We'll take you to the Supreme Court as well, which is set to hear an injunction application today against President's move to suspend Chief Justice Torkornoo. And a little later, I will bring you the story of Minority Leader Fenyo Markin demanding disciplinary action against police officer who he accuses of assaulting him after videos surfaced showing the Minority Leader hitting another officer during the Save the Judiciary demonstration.
And hit me hard, and he aimed at my heart.
We have details as the police asked Speaker of Parliament to release the Minority Leader for investigations on the allegations of assault against him. I do have details of this one if you stay with me. Joy News, independent, fearless, and credible. We'll start first with Minority Leader Alexander Fenyo Markin, who has petitioned Inspector General of Police Christian Tete Yohunu to take disciplinary action against the police officer he alleges assaulted him during Monday's protest. This comes after a viral video showed Fenyo Markin appearing to throw his hands at a police officer. The Minority Leader claims he was assaulted and fought back after being hit in the chest by the police officer. We'll get more on this shortly, but following his public statement explaining his version of the story, Alexander Fenyo Markin spoke to a sister station at TV this morning and has offered an explanation.
What enter now? Then the guy from nowhere, what enter America? Because they had entered. Then I was, using say, and hit me hard. And he aimed at my heart. Okay, he aimed at it. He just hit me like this. Young man, why do you want to kill me? Have I done anything to you? I was like, it's unfortunate how some public officers sometimes, when you should be there, and you're careful, now also quote unquote, I catch you on there, Sebi, also by retaliate. But I am sorry, I am I'm praying that higher powers of the realm would give him light to realize what he did, so that at the right time he apologized, said that quickly, let me make a formal complaint, send a petition to the IGP. Then I realized that typical of the politics we do, rather when I was protesting his action, some videos were rather being circulated and creating a certain impression. But I would want to urge the gentleman, look, Manana Sebi Waba policeman, he may have his partisan interest.
But why are you jumping into conclusion that the reaction of the sergeant was
no, not reaction, his action.
His action was induced. Politically.
I'm saying that if
we don't do it.
Well, I'm saying
he's a professional police person.
Well, but I'm saying
the conduct of a police officer is contrary.
Yes, sure.
Then they don't come in with inducement.
Yes, sure. So what I'm trying to say in there, his conduct was unbecoming of a police officer.
That one, however, based on your account this morning.
Right. However, if he has his own partisan inclinations, he should put that aside, because broad daylight, a call is made, an invitation is made to the leader of a demonstration. He is entering, and then you use your hand. I mean, no.
Now, Kweku Asante, Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent, is here to give us more clarity. Now, Kweku, what do we know? Let's start from right after yesterday's demonstration. We know that the police may have released a certain statement on their social media page. What do we know before we get into the minority leaders' statement?
So we know that late yesterday, the police put out a statement confirming that they have reviewed videos from the demonstration of yesterday, and that the specific matter having to do with the allegations made against the minority leader, that he may have hit a police officer or assaulted a police officer in the legal sense, has actually been taken up, and that they have written to the Speaker of Parliament to release the Member of Parliament to assist them with the investigation. It was a brief, it was very terse, it got straight to the point. The police not offering so much details as to what exactly may have happened, except to say that they are intended on investigating the Member of Parliament for alleged assault on a police officer, and they have since written to the Speaker of Parliament to give them access to the minority leader for questioning.
Right. Right after that, we also realized that the minority leader had released some sort of an explainer to this. What did he say?
Yes, he did put out a public statement yesterday explaining. He also claimed now that the police officer, one Constable Forsen, actually struck him in the chest, and that is what you hear him tell at station at Room FM there, and that at some point he was dazed, he was very dizzy from that hit close to his chest, and so he just had to take a stand somewhere, got some water, and later on joined the protest. And so he was also making a counter accusation against a certain police officer that he calls Constable Forsen having done that. But just this morning, he has taken the matter a bit step forward, and he has now written to the IGP calling for investigation and appropriate disciplinary action against the said Constable Forsen. Let me read it. It says, I hereby formally petition your office to investigate and take appropriate disciplinary action against Constable Forsen, a tall, fair, and heavily built officer who was stationed at the entrance of Parliament House to provide security during today's Save the Judiciary demonstration. He continues that Constable Forsen assaulted me at the entrance of Parliament House during the demonstration to address this incident and to correct misleading narratives circulating in the public domain. I've issued a public statement detailing these events as they occurred. He says he relies on that state statement, which is hereby attached to your information and further action. We are yet to see what the police will do. We understand they'll be addressing this conference at 12:30. We do not know if they'll be going to the specifics of this or they are addressing other national issues. But that is Alexander Afenyomakin's new claim that he was also assaulted and is calling for investigation.
And before I let you go, you're no lawyer yet, but maybe for precedents in Parliament. I know that Parliament is not sitting yet. Would he be at least immune to any of the processes so far?
So if you look at both the Constitution and the Parliament Act, it says that no member of Parliament, the Speaker or clerk, can be arrested or served any court documents while on their way to or from Parliament. But Parliament is currently on recess, so the understanding we had was that the police is able to invite him or actually even put him under arrest if they were so minded that an offense had been committed. And so that is why some lawyers say it's a bit surprising to hear that the police themselves are asking the Speaker of Parliament to release him when Parliament is currently on recess. But if the police do address the journalists on this, we'll get to know what went into that decision.
Right. Thank you, Kweku. Right, moving on. The Mahama administration says dismissals will not be the ultimate punishment for government appointees who breach the newly unveiled Code of Conduct. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dominic Ayine, says the administration is committed to criminal prosecutions in cases where officials are found culpable of the... Dr. Justice Ayine says the administration is committed to criminal prosecutions in cases where officials are culpable. In an interview with Joy News, he said he has a full blessing of the president and will not hesitate to prosecute his own colleagues who fall foul of the law.
Of course, if there are other consequences flowing from your conduct, that will also be looked at. So, for instance, he said it's legally, enforceable, and that is true because if you have been, terminated, if your appointment has been terminated, it should be possible if criminal conduct flows from what you have done, for the Attorney General to then pick up the matter and then, make sure that the courts impose the necessary criminal sanctions on you. And so I don't think that it is, enough to say, look, the person's appointment has been terminated. If the termination has come and there is anything to, follow up as far as criminal sanctions is concerned, that the president has said, don't cross the line. If you cross the line, then it means that the sanctions will flow, and that includes taking legal action against you. I've said it several times, and I will not, hesitate to investigate and prosecute anybody who is an appointee of this government who crosses the line. Because it doesn't make sense, and for purposes of the public's sense of fairness, that past appointees will be prosecuted and then present appointees will go scot-free. That means that you are leaving room for them to be prosecuted in the future.
Now, still on this, Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, an advocate for legislation to bar politicians and politically exposed persons from acquiring state assets, says President Mohammed's ban on appointees purchasing such assets is a major step towards restoring public confidence in governance. He also provided an update on his private member's bill on the matter.
The portion of this code of conduct which excites me so much, I have a private member's bill in Parliament on this matter. It has to do with public servants, politicians, politically exposed persons. The President has said it. The code of conduct expressly forbids any of us from purchasing state assets, whether they are lands, whether they are hotels, whether they are cars. You are not allowed to lay hands on any state asset. I am so excited. This is a watershed moment, and President Mahama ought to be celebrated. Look, the state assets are placed under our care as a fiduciary duty to hold them in trust for and on behalf of the people. We are not to betray their trust and take over these assets for ourselves. And these are matters that you recall. For the past 8 years, I was crusading against this practice where you have cabinet ministers, you have politically exposed persons grabbing lands, grabbing hotels. If those who came before us, particularly in the Nkrumah era, did that, what will have been left?
Now, Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Murtala Mohammed, says President Mahama is setting an example by voluntarily returning a gift of vehicles given to him, and is urging other appointees to do so in the spirit of accountability.
For me, he himself is taking the lead. Vehicles that were donated to him, he's given them to the state. And also he indicated clearly that those who could not have their access declared by the date he gave, there will be repercussions. They will lose their salaries. And those who are not able to do that at a certain date would lose their jobs. And for me, I think that it's inspiration to all of us.
Now, to help us examine the weight of this directive and its implication for anti-corruption efforts, we're joined by Sanu via Zoom. He very vocal on corruption, an anti-corruption campaigner. Uncle Adam, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And let's begin with your general reaction. What does this directive by President Mahama signal to you about the government's commitment to accountability?
Well, first we would commend the president for keeping faith with his apparent focus on ensuring that the appointees he has put in place take the issues of their conduct seriously. I believe it's one of the indicators of their manifesto, and managing to come through with it definitely is a plus, and it's a feather in his cap. So that would be the first thing to commend him for this initiative. Even though there's much more we are expecting.
Well, let's start with his example by donating these vehicles that was given to him as gifts to the state. Many have said that at least he should name the persons that gave this gift. Are you in support of this?
I think that it is the prerogative of the gift receiver to decide. And, sometimes when we do give gifts, we don't want to bring publicity to ourselves. So if the people who were given these gifts said they don't want publicity, but they expect that this should help facilitate the work of government, and he so, as is the case, decided to give it to the state, you cannot compel him to. I think it's up to him to make that decision whether it's in the best interest of the state at the moment or not. And I think it will be dependent on whether those who gave it were interested in publicity or not. If they were giving it quietly, then I don't think it would be appropriate for him to now broadcast their names, etc., in the public space.
Well, so the president has tied salary forfeiture to non-compliance. Is this legally enforceable, or is just very symbolic?
I don't think it is legally enforceable. Indeed, I even think that it may be ethically problematic. The laws that we have, there is the Act 550, which covers public holders, declaration, and disqualification. They may want to take a look at it. What the existing law says is that if you have a complaint against an officer relating to assets, file it at charge. And charge is the body empowered to investigate and then determine the sanction. So there's a bit of a disconnect between this current instruction and the existing law, and they will have to find some kind of alignment. So I don't think at the moment it is legally enforceable. I think that it is in a bit of conflict with existing law, and they would have to think about what to do going forward.
I mean, you have just drawn the disconnect between these two provisions, but so far at least, have we seen any effectiveness of the asset declaration historically in curbing corruption at all?
So there are two different things. The officer's declaration and disqualification, and if there are any complaints relating to that, it's more expansive than just the issue of assets declaration. The current assets declaration regime has not been fit for purpose, simply because we have not had opportunities for verification, and people telling the truth as to what they are putting in the envelope, and we do not have publication, which allows anyone in the country to go and cross-check and say, no, I know you have a house there, you have not declared it. And that's unfortunate, because even our sister country, Nigeria, has already put in place a publication process where on a website, any citizen can go and check whether the officers so assigned have declared all their assets. So our current regime is not fit for purpose, and we need to improve it with some forms of verification and publication.
Aksana, before I let you go, the Code of Conduct also prohibits gifts and favors to public officials. How realistic is this in our current political culture, and how it can be enforced, especially as you were citing the example of the gift giver, if doesn't want some spotlight on them? How can we really enforce this, given the current political culture so far?
Well, it is the reason why whichever system you have must be a system that brings on board all citizens. 35 million of us cross-checking and commenting. If you create an infrastructure where you can go online and report the receiving or the giving of gifts, it will be much more effective than if you have a system where nobody can cross-check. That's why the public declaration of assets is important, because then all of us can see that at your baseline, you had only one house. But now, the 35 million of us recognize that you now have 5 houses in the space of 1 year or 2 years. How did you get those 4 houses? So it is feasible when you have a baseline that all of us can cross-check, and then we can compare it with the now as to, I know you have 3 houses. I go into the publication on the website, I see that when you came in, you had 1 house. The question is your salary or remuneration enough to have gotten you 2 more houses in this short span? That's how you're able to cross-check. It is feasible if we have a fit-for-purpose assets declaration regime with regular updating, let's say annually, and all 35 million citizens have opportunity to go to cross-check, monitor, and give their inputs as to what is going on.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Sanu. Thank you. Now, moving away from that, I'll take you to the court where former Secretary of the Inter-Ministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, Charles Bisu, has been granted a 200,000 Ghana cedis court bail with 2 sureties. one to be justified. The accused person has also been ordered to submit his passport to the court registrar and report to the OSP once every month. His accomplice, Thomas Owusu, has also been granted same bail conditions. Mr. Bisu is accused of receiving bribes and accepted gifts as a public officer to bypass illegal requirements for mining license approvals. Let's get some details from our legal affairs correspondent, Lateef Idrisu, who joins me now. Lateef, what's the current update? We know that, yes, he's been granted bail, but walk us through what has happened so far.
Yeah, so additionally, like you pointed out, Charles Bisu and the accomplice, Thomas Owusu, are expected to seek the express permission from the courts before embarking on any foreign travels, which means that they cannot move out of jurisdiction without the express permission of the court. As we speak, Charles Bisu and his accomplice are on a frantic
I hope I have not lost Lateef. Lateef, can you hear me? We'll try and reconnect with Lateef, where he'll bring us update on that bail that has been granted to Charles Bisu and his accomplice. And a little later as well, we'll also get some update from the Supreme Court on the injunction application. But I'll go back to Lateef. Lateef, so you were saying?
So I was saying that they need the express permission of the court to embark on any foreign travel. And so as we speak, Charles Bisu and Thomas Owusu are on a frantic adventure to secure or execute this particular bail conditions. And this is not a mean job. They have to go to this landed property in Accra, verify that indeed these landed properties exist, and then the evaluation will take place to make sure that it meets a certain amount before Charles Bisu and his accomplice are granted this particular bail. As we speak now, they are to be in the custody of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Once they are able to meet this particular bail conditions, they will now enjoy this particular bail term. Lawyer for Charles Bisu made the submission that his client is due to travel out of the jurisdiction within the shortest possible time, and so wanted some variation in terms of the bail conditions. But the judge insisted that she has made her ruling, and that is that. And so that was the outcome of this particular case, and Charles Bisu is now on a court bail, 200,000, two sureties, one to be justified, landed property in Accra, needs the express permission of the court to embark on any foreign travel, and the case is back in court on the 29th.
Perfect. And I will go to the Supreme Court, where today is expected to hear an injunction application today seeking to halt the suspension and removal process of the Chief Justice, Torkornoo. The application argues that the President must give the Chief Justice an opportunity to respond before proceeding with consultation on her removal. Now, the Attorney General, however, maintains that the President cannot be restrained from carrying out his constitutional duties. And I'll stay with you, Lateef. What's the current update with that in the Supreme Court?
So, MFR, the update on this particular case is that when the case was called, from the outset, the former Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Damin, raised an objection to the acting Chief Justice, Bafu Boni, participating in the panel that is hearing the case. It was the case of Godfred Yeboah-Damin that Justice Bafu Boni cannot set up a panel and then come and preside over the same panel, a panel that is hearing a substantive matter regarding a suspended Chief Justice. It was his case that Justice Bafu Boni stands to personally benefit regarding the outcome of this particular case. And so he described it as improper for the acting Chief Justice to participate in this particular hearing. The court or the panel has to go on a brief recess, and when they returned, they delivered a verdict. And the verdict was that the objection or the initial objection raised by the former Attorney General was unanimously overruled. That is number one. Number two, Godfred Yeboah-Damin also raised issue regarding the panel in its entirety. His argument this time was that when the case was called earlier, I think weeks ago, the panel that sat was totally different from the panel we are seeing today, seated behind me in the Supreme Court. And so the explanation given was that Justice Puaman, we know the president has appointed him to be part of the committee that is investigating the Chief Justice.
Right.
Justice Asiedu, we also know, is part of the committee set up by the president. These two individuals were part of the initial panel that sat here at the Supreme Court on this particular matter. So we heard Justice Amadou Tanko put a question to Godfrey Dame that would he be comfortable to see Justice Puaman today sitting on the panel? Would he be happy seeing Justice Asiedu today sitting on the panel, knowing very well that the two of them have been appointed by the president to be part of the committee that is investigating the matter in itself? Then he watered his position down, and so that objection was also overruled. Number three, which is substantive, is that Godfrey Dame has now withdrawn the initial application that sought to injunct the president from forwarding or from beginning the processes of hearing the matter involving the petitions that are coming. And so he wanted, or his client wanted to injunct the president from carrying out the processes. Today in court, Godfrey Dame has withdrawn that particular application, and the Supreme Court had taken a clue from that and declared that it's been withdrawn and struck out. That is an explanation I need to give further. That the initial application by Asafwa to injunct President Mahama from going ahead with the processes, the procedure to suspend the Chief Justice, to potentially remove her from office, that application has been withdrawn by Godfrey Dame, and the court, the Supreme Court, has taken a clue from that and has ruled that that application has been withdrawn and struck out. What is being heard right now in the Supreme Court is the suspension of the Chief Justice itself. That is the substantive matter that is being heard. Godfrey Dame has made his submission. His submission is that right from the outset, the president committed a constitutional violation when he failed to inform the Chief Justice or the suspended Chief Justice, Torkornoo, about the two petitions he had received. He said failure by the president to do that constitutes an egregious constitutional violation, and so that cannot be remedied. That is the idea or the position of Godfrey Dame, that once the violation has taken place, it cannot be remedied. And so he wants the court to declare the processes so far null and void. The Deputy Attorney General, Justice Shremsai, as we speak, is on his feet making his own submission in the Supreme Court, countering the argument or the submissions by Godfrey Dame. In his case, there has not been any constitutional breach, and even if that happened, it's been remedied. And let's just bring in this context, because the panel in itself engaged.
Oh, I hope that I have not lost Lateef, but in essence, we're hoping to bring you how that will end. But Lateef is back. Hi, Lateef.
Yes, Amefa.
Yes.
So I was making the point that the panel engaged Godfrey Dame for a very long time. They needed him to explain to them the level of the breach that had taken place. In fact, one of the justices kept insisting and asking Godfrey Dame to point the panel to the part of the Article 146 of the Constitution that stipulates clearly that this is the timeline within which the president is expected to notify the Chief Justice that I have received a petition asking for your removal from office. That question was posed to Godfrey Dame, I think about 5 times. That point us to that provision in the Constitution that says that the president has to notify the Chief Justice on day 1 or on day 2 of receiving the said petition. Point us to that provision. Godfrey Dame was unable to point to any provision that stipulates timeline within which the president is supposed to notify the Chief Justice when he receives a petition asking for the removal of the Chief Justice. that is absent in the provision. And so they made it clear to the Attorney General that indeed, once he is unable to point the panel to that provision, then the argument of an egregious constitutional violation by the president is a bit problematic. Two, the panel also make the argument that what Godfrey Adame and his client are asking the court to do is to injunct the president from performing an executive function, a constitutional duty. And the Constitution in itself also frowns on that you cannot enjoin someone from executing a constitutional duty. And so the case, I mean, the argument is being made by ongoing. We are missing out on that. We don't know his submissions to countering. I will let you go back into the court so that you can get the update on that. And maybe when you come back in our subsequent bulletins, you can give us an update on the cocaine bust as well. That's supposed to be heard at the circuit court today. Yeah, it's been adjourned to tomorrow at 10 a.m. because some applications were not made as expected. Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lateef, for bringing us an update on that. Would also bring you the story of how effectiveness of drainage system is happening in Accra here after this break.
And that's...
Hello and welcome to the business segment on Joy News today with me, Pius Kojobaka. An expert in sustainable food systems and supply chains, Professor Francis Achu has emphasized the need for sustainable farming within the framework of innovative agricultural practices. According to him, this model is no longer an option. It is essential for survival. He made these remarks at the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting held under the theme Future for Food and the Critical Place for Sustainable Practices.
The way we even prepare land is a very big issue. Conventionally, we keep on tilling, we turn it this way, tomorrow we'll do it this way. What are the effects? Look, do you even know that some of these chemicals we even apply, some of them even tend to even induce more, like they increase lead in the system, leading to what? Too low photosynthesis, leading to low yield. And when the low yield, what is the effect? Economic impact on us. Now tell me a bag of fertilizer. Tell me a box of chemicals. So with all these things, and I don't even consider so much on the cost. In terms of health, most of us are going through various health challenges, not because that we are not living good, but because of the kinds of food that we eat. Take galamsey. You may think galamsey is somewhere else. You know, most foods that we eat are coming from those enclaves. Most of us, we like achwabua, you know achwabua, like grass cutter. You know, they drink water. Most of these lead polluted water, they drink. Then they kill this achwabua, bring it here. Oh, antifati, maybe difufu, ni achwabua na krantenam. Look at what you're doing to yourself. With all these things, ladies and gentlemen, whether we like it or not, look, conventional farming is not something we should joke with it. So, sustainable farming within the scope of what innovative farming practices is not an option. It is the way for us to be able to survive.
An expert in food data, technology and utilization, Professor Kwesi Akpechi-Kecha, has advised the government to focus not only on agriculture but also on the various factors that play a critical role in promoting sustainable agricultural practices.
We can develop these technologies locally without actually looking for other external, because our conditions are different from their conditions, and we have to understand our environment and develop the technologies that we have to build in order to preserve our food. Even whether it's in a rural area, you don't have to think of how you can send maybe some complex technology there. We have to learn to develop our own technology that can be used to preserve these foods to a particular degree. And also, I will advise government that it's not about agriculture per se. We have to look at other things that support the agriculture sector. For example, we have a lot of people who read geography, some geology, and stuff like that. We need to have a database of all types of soil and stuff like that, so that we can use these computers to advise us as to where to plant, what to plant, if we understand a particular plant characteristics, making it easy. We can also integrate based on rates of farming, movement of people in a geographical area, and today it's easy to know how people are moving based on mobile phone characteristics. If you have a lot of mobile phone hooked up onto a base station, and you realize these mobile phones move within a network in a particular way, then you can know the kind of, and you have Ghana card, so you can know the kind of people that are moving within these geographical areas and the kind of activities that they do. So if it is agriculture and then they produce heavy food, these data sets within the system should inform Ministry of Transport as to what kind of road they can construct in order to accommodate heavy trucks and other things that transport food, so that they will not do the road and it's a short time, it will get spoiled. So other data sets can be used to guide farming.
That's it for business for now. That will be at 1 p.m. with the marketplace. The news continues after this break.
Welcome back to News Today. Now, the livelihoods of thousands of traders are hanging by the thread of the KJTR market in Kumasi as the trading center continues to grapple with faulty firefighting installations and traders' blatant disregard for safety precautions. Fire cabinet sprinklers, smoke detectors implanted at the market have yet to find their purposeful use, even after a major fire razed the last 20 shops. In today's episode of our Breaking the Fire Cycle series, Emmanuel Bright-Koko visited the market, which is currently without fire insurance due to its poor fire protection infrastructure.
On March 15, 2023, the usual trading at the KJT market had neared its conclusion until a major fire devastation tore through portions of the market. Traders left helpless as they escaped the fire scene without even looking back to salvage their goods. The market, which supposedly had a better fire system, failed to save the millions of items contained in shops caught up in the blaze. 2 years after the incident, the traders are yet to have their lives back to normalcy. Nathaniel Bwamponsim leads the KJT fire victims.
I operated 3 shops. My family depends on me. And now I'm not working for like 2 years. You know, it's not easy. The people at home who even call you to also ask you money. Being the leader of the fire victims, at times you have to go to an extent of asking people money just to support. And that is so bad. That is not the life we used to live. We were okay, if not this fire incident.
The affected shops continue to sit in ruins, now a terrible sight of filth and human waste.
There are several recommendations for this place to be restored back to life. But 2 years down the line, it is an eyesore. It is now engulfed in filth. And I must say that this place, we understand, trickles with some sewage coming from upstairs. And the traders here are helpless. They are hoping that something could be done urgently to restore this place.
Sometimes whenever I come to this scene, it makes me feel like crying because I put myself in the shoes of my colleague traders who are applying their trade here.
The KJT market is Ghana's largest and ultra-modern market, serving as a one-stop facility for various goods and transport services. The $200 million market center houses over 8,000 stalls and shops. After the fire devastation, the traders had hoped the new market would be insulated against another blaze, but it still stands without a standard life and property protection equipment. The network of over 100 sprinklers and smoke detectors on the market ceiling are yet to find their purpose. Fire cabinets at the markets have gathered dust and are now in a deplorable state with its delivery hose punctured. Nana Akwesi Prempeh is the president of the Federation of KJT Traders Association.
The entire firefighting system within the market is suspect with regard to what was originally implanted into the market. We will say it's, let's say, 3/10. We as traders, we know that if it gets to the situation where we are supposed to fund for it. Why not? After all, they will be protecting our wares for us. So we would have paid for it.
The sprinklers at the markets are defective, but the market has naturally found its way to raindrops of water to probably douse the next fire that may erupt. But the water is a mixture of liquid waste running through plastic pipes.
See how
the water is dripping onto my goods. We have fetched 10 basins of this water. Every time it drips. Though the market has its structural deficits, the conduct of some traders makes the place a riskier scene for fire emergencies.
So ideally, this is to serve as one of the emergency assembly points here at the KJT market. But as you can see on your shots now, on both sides, you can see some traders occupying this alleyway. And you can imagine what could happen in case there is a fire outbreak here at the KJT market.
If there was a system that could detect the smoke, they could have easily doused the fire. Even the fire extinguishers are faulty. The market's only fire station is yet to be completed after developing wall cracks as the market continues to experience pockets of fire outbreaks. The poor fire infrastructure at the market is shying away insurance companies.
And that also exposes this market. Now, 2 years down the line, there is no fire certificate, meaning there is no insurance policy covering this market. And per the LI, is it 2174, Ghana National Fire Service LI, it is mandated on Ghana National Fire Service that if a commercial facility is not fire worthy, they should close it down.
There have been several recommendations on the fire situation at the markets, but they seem to have fallen on deaf ears. A stitch in time, they say, saves 9. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
And in Accra here, the silting operations are underway at the Torkornoo as part of pre-rainy season interventions to curb flooding in Accra and its surrounding areas. The Deputy Managing Director of Dredge Masters, Samuel Bokwe, says the persistent dumping of waste and the accumulation of silt in major water areas are largely contributed by activities of squatters along the drainage path. According to Mr. Bokwe, individuals living near or directly on the banks of the drains not only endanger themselves, but also compromise the integrity and effectiveness of the entire drainage system. He emphasized the urgent need for coordinated enforcement and public education to sustain the impact of the ongoing dredging efforts.
So far, we are about 30% complete. What we actually work targetedly, depending on where we think flood will occur. So we are currently clearing all the areas that we are envisaging flood to occur. We have already opened the lower lagoon, that in case there is a heavy downpour, the water will be able to enter into the sea. Currently dredging, and then after that we'll do maintenance dredging. Maintenance dredging means that anytime it rains, anytime it silts, we have to come and remove all the silt from the drains. You can see there are people living around all the drains, right from Caprice to the lower lagoon. And that is what delayed the project a little bit. But by the grace of God, we have been able to move some of them out of the area, and now we are able to move. Also, people are still dumping into the drains. People are dumping refuse, people are dumping anything into the drain, and it's another challenge that we are facing. Another thing is that because the downstream, the part of the drain has not been lined, so when it rains, it carries the sand. So there's always recurrence of siltation. As you can see here, we dredge up to the concrete bottom, but now there's still a little bit of silt inside. So those are some of the challenges that we are facing.
You're watching News Today. Stay with me. When I come back, I'll tell you the best way to celebrate your mother this coming Mother's Day. Thank you for staying. The Safari Eco Valley will be the best place to bring your mother this Mother's Day. In collaboration with the multimedia group, the park is giving mothers a treat to honor their sacrifices. From boat ride to sumptuous meals, you and your mother will make unforgettable memories. Hannah Odome is there and joins us with more. Hannah, I am just interested in how that place is preparing to receive our mothers.
Exactly, MFR. We just arrived here and I'm enjoying the serene here. This place is so fantastic. And that's why you have to come with Mama. I believe you'll be the first to arrive here with your mother. MFR, when they come here, apart from the sumptuous meals that you talked about, there is also going to be boat ride, there's canoeing, and I can see lots of the animals around. Now just look behind me. This will be the restaurant where the mothers will have their meals with the children. And there will be lots of activities. Kwampa Band will be here for live band. There will also be autographs from our Team Joy. And you know, we are celebrating 30 years. So we are bringing a lot of our presenters and producers around. There will also be souvenirs for everyone that comes here. But let's talk about the food, because after all the safari tour and everything, we will get to hear from Jonathan Amate, who is the head of food and beverages, about all the things that we are going to enjoy here, plus the food we'll eat, which is very important. Before we come to him, I must say that we are celebrating Mother's Day on Saturday because we want you to have a relaxed day to celebrate it. We all know it's on Sunday, but we at Multimedia want you to do that on Saturday so that on Sunday, you look back at the memories and enjoy. Welcome to Joy News.
Thank you.
Now, tell us exactly some of the things that we'll be doing here. I have mentioned a lot already, but we want to know about the meals.
Nice. So here in Safari Valley, beyond the ecotourism and the interactions with animals and all of that, and of course, fantastic view of these resorts, we are going to ensure we serve you proper meals that come from our farms.
Okay.
So 90% of the ingredients we use for every meal everyone is going to take on this resort is going to come from our farms.
That's why it's an eco park.
Fantastic.
Okay. But tell us about the meal.
So whatever you can think of, that day you are going to have it. And the fantastic thing is, everything you eat that day will be produced that morning from our farm. So everything is going to be fresh.
Okay.
No preservatives, no additives, nothing like that.
Mention the meals.
So if it's banku you want, we have it there.
Anything,
If you think of apapransa, we will produce it.
Great. So that's why you have to come. Now, tell us about, you can see some tourists there. Take us around. Where are some of the things that we'll be looking at? You can show us about
here there are zebras.
Yes.
There are antelopes.
Okay.
Your colleague heard the cry of an animal. It was a peacock.
Okay.
All the animals you can think of, both indigenous and imported, we have all of them here. So you can see a lot of our guests are going around on the ecotourism. They are
so our mamas will also be happy to go around.
Please.
What about those who can walk?
We have a lot of enabling environments. We have our guys around who take them around. So
and look
everyone
far
is
behind there.
Yes.
What's that?
It's our man-made canal where we produce.
If you can zoom in.
Yes. Where we produce lots of fishes. We use that for recreational activities, for canoeing, kayaking, and stuff like that.
And will we be going there as
Please,
well?
it's open to you too.
I mean, for the mummies?
They are invited to take a shot at that.
And then when we look at this side, we see lots of trees here. What's there for us to enjoy as well?
So,
because it's a lovely scene.
I'm sure you've realized the air here is fresh.
Absolutely.
It's different from what is in Accra. We are inside the valley. So the trees are fresh. The greenery is all open. And you are open to enjoy all of this scenery for yourselves.
Wow. Jonathan has told us a lot, but I can assure you that there's a lot more should you bring your mama here on Mother's Day on Saturday. It's just about today, it's Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just come to the front desk of Joy FM or just call us for all the enquiries about how to give mommy that most memorable day of all days. Remember that you can say thank you, but why not do it with an activity such as bringing her to the Eco Safari Valley Park. For this particular beautiful place, which I'm about to enjoy more, MFR, I hope you're bringing mommy here.
Of course, I'm bringing all the mother figures in my life to the Safari Valley. Thank you for bringing us updates from that place. And just to quickly update you that you can also get aboard a bus right here at the Joy News or Joy FM premises at no fee at all. So why not say thank you to mommy in the best way? But that'll be all for the news today. I'm MFA Akosia Adeti. For more news though, do log on to myjoyonline.com. And our top story, Supreme Court dismisses Godfrey Dama's objection to Attorney General Chief Justice presiding over Torkornoo suspension case. Details on our portal as well. Thank you for watching.